Rachel Parker arrived at the Johnson family home on a sunny morning, the cloudless blue sky reflecting the promise of a new beginning. She carried a large suitcase and a bag full of medical equipment, each item carefully selected to aid in her new mission. As she approached the door, she felt a mix of anxiety and determination. She knew that the task ahead would be challenging, but she was ready to face it. The door opened before Rachel could ring the bell. Mark Johnson, a man in his 40s with brown hair beginning to grey and deep under-eye circles, greeted her with a tired but friendly smile. His eyes, though marked by fatigue, shone with renewed hope. "Welcome, Rachel," Mark said, his voice carrying a tone of relief. "We are very grateful you're here. My daughter Emily needs specialized care and we are desperate to see her improve." Rachel smiled back, trying to convey the calm and confidence she always brought to her patients. "I'm here to help with whatever is needed, Mark. I know it's a tough situation, but I'll do my best to take care of Emily." Mark sighed in relief, as if a weight had been lifted from his shoulders. "Thank you, Rachel. Come on, I'll show you around." He led her through the house, a spacious and well-decorated residence with dark wood furniture and artwork on the walls. However, despite the elegance, there was a cold, impersonal feel in the air. Rachel noticed that, although everything was impeccably tidy, it lacked the warmth of a home. As they walked down the hallway, Mark tried to fill the silence with information about Emily. "She's 12, you know. Always been a lively girl, loved dancing and playing piano. But since the accident, everything has changed." Rachel nodded, feeling the pain in Mark's words. "I understand, Mark. We'll do everything we can to help her." Along the way, Rachel noticed family photos on the walls. One of them showed Emily smiling, dressed in a pink ballet outfit, her eyes sparkling with happiness. The sight reinforced Rachel's determination to do everything in her power to bring that smile back. They finally reached Emily's room. Mark opened the door carefully, as if fearing to disturb the fragile peace of the setting. When Mark opened the door to Emily's room, Rachel felt a tightness in her heart. The door revealed a space that, despite being a child room, was filled with medical equipment that transformed the area into an extension of the hospital. The girl lay in a hospital bed surrounded by monitors that beeped softly, creating a constant, almost hypnotic sound. Tubes connected to her provided the nutrients and medications necessary to keep her stable. Mark stopped at the entrance to the room, taking a deep breath before speaking. "This is Emily," he said with a heavy sigh, his voice laden with deep sadness. "She's been in this state for a few months now. The doctors say there isn't much more they can do, but I can't give up. She's everything to me." Rachel approached the bed, feeling the gravity of the moment. Emily, a 12-year-old girl, lay there motionless, with her eyes closed and her skin pale. Her blonde hair was neatly combed, and she wore pink pajamas with small butterfly designs. Rachel noticed the child's fragility and the complexity of the equipment around her. "I understand, Mark," said Rachel, her voice soft and full of empathy. "I'll take care of her as if she were my own daughter. Let's see what we can do to improve her situation." She began to examine the equipment, checking Emily's vital signs. The heart monitor displayed a steady but weak rhythm. The mechanical respirator emitted a rhythmic sound, indicating it was helping Emily breathe. Rachel adjusted some of the parameters, ensuring everything was functioning correctly. As she worked, Rachel couldn't help but notice the expressions of despair and hope in Mark's eyes. He stood by the bed, watching her every move with a mix of anxiety and expectation. It was evident that he was exhausted, but also determined to do whatever was necessary to help his daughter. "Mark," said Rachel, trying to offer some comfort, "I know this is very hard for you, but I want you to know that I'm here to help. We'll work together to give Emily the best possible chance." Mark nodded, his eyes shining with unshed tears. "Thank you, Rachel. I just want her to come back to us. She's always been so full of life, so cheerful. It's hard to see her like this." Rachel placed a comforting hand on Mark's shoulder. I understand. And we'll do everything we can to bring her back. Every little step is important, and we won't give up. As Rachel continued to adjust the equipment and monitor Emily's vital signs, she felt a surge of determination. She knew the journey would be long and filled with challenges, but she was ready to face each one alongside the Johnson family. The sight of Emily so vulnerable and fragile reinforced her mission to do everything within her power to help the girl recover. A few minutes after Rachel entered Emily's room to check her vital signs, she heard the door creak open, and Beatrice walked in. She was a tall woman with perfectly styled blonde hair and a cold gaze that seemed to pierce through anyone who dared cross her path. Dressed elegantly, Beatrice exuded an aura of authority and impatience. "Mark, we need to talk about the household finances," she said, without even glancing at Rachel, her voice sharp as a blade. Mark, visibly uncomfortable, tried to smooth over the situation. "Beatrice, this is Rachel, Emily's nurse," he said, trying to introduce the two. "Rachel, this is my wife, Beatrice." Beatrice gave a brief and uninterested glance at Rachel, her icy blue eyes barely registering the nurse's presence. "I hope you know what you're doing," she said brusquely, her voice laden with skepticism. "We don't want to waste our time and money on false hopes." Rachel maintained her composure, despite Beatrice's coldness. She knew the situation was delicate and that she needed to gain the family's trust. "I will do everything in my power for Emily," Rachel calmly replied, her voice firm and professional. "I'll start with a thorough assessment and then we'll discuss the next steps." Beatrice just snorted, a sound of disdain that echoed through the room and left without another word, her high heels clicking on the wooden floor with a determined rhythm. The tension in the air was palpable and Rachel felt the weight of Beatrice's distrust. Mark, visibly uncomfortable, tried to justify his wife's attitude. "Beatrice is under a lot of pressure," he said, sighing deeply. She wasn't prepared to deal with something like this. "It's been hard on all of us." Rachel nodded, understanding the emotional complexity of the situation. "I understand, Mark," she responded, her voice soft and reassuring. "Let's focus on Emily. That's the most important thing right now." Mark looked at Rachel with gratitude, his eyes reflecting the hope and despair of a father who would do anything to save his daughter. "Thank you, Rachel. I really appreciate your help." Rachel smiled, determined to do everything she could to help Emily and relieve the burden weighing on Mark's shoulders. She knew the journey would be long and filled with challenges, but she was ready to face them one step at a time. Rachel dedicated herself wholeheartedly to Emily care from the moment she set foot in the Johnson family home. Every day, she followed a strict routine of monitoring and treatment, ensuring all equipment was functioning properly and that Emily received the best possible attention. Each morning began with a meticulous check of vital signs, adjustments to the equipment, and a careful cleaning to ensure a sterile and safe environment. One afternoon, while adjusting Emily's position in the bed, Rachel noticed the softness of the girl's skin and the fragility of her limbs. She moved Emily gently to avoid any discomfort or injury. At that moment, Mark entered the room, his face displaying a tired but genuine smile. "Rachel, how is she today?" he asked, his voice carrying a tone of hope and concern. He approached the bed, watching each of Rachel's movements attentively. "She's stable, Mark," Rachel replied, maintaining her professional yet gentle tone. "I'm monitoring her vital signs, and it seems she's responding well to the care. However, there's still much to be done." Mark sighed with relief, his shoulders visibly relaxing. "That's a relief. You don't know how much it means to me to see any sign of improvement." Rachel smiled encouragingly, trying to convey confidence. "We'll do everything necessary, Mark. We are not giving up. Every little progress is a victory." Meanwhile, Beatrice watched from a distance, always with an expression of disdain. She stood at the door, arms crossed and her cold gaze fixed on Rachel. Rachel could feel the stepmother's discomfort towards Emily and herself. Beatrice avoided any prolonged interaction and, when she spoke, it was only to question the costs and efficacy of the treatments. Later, while reviewing Emily's medical records, Rachel noticed something strange. The girl's reactions to the medications were not consistent with what she expected. Emily seemed to worsen after each dose. Rachel frowned, analyzing the vital signs charts and detailed notes. Each time a new dose was administered, Emily's signs showed a worrying decline. Determined to investigate, Rachel headed to the living room where Mark was sitting, his head in his hands, clearly exhausted. She approached cautiously, knowing the news could be disturbing. "Mark, I need to talk to you about Emily's medications," Rachel began, her voice firm but gentle. "I've noticed she has adverse reactions each time the prescribed doses are administered. I would like to review the prescription and discuss it with the doctor." Mark lifted his head, his eyes showing a mix of worry and fatigue. "Adverse reactions? What do you mean, Rachel?" "She seems to worsen after each dose, and when it's time for the next dose, she shows slight improvement," explained Rachel, showing him the chart she had analyzed. "Her vital signs drop alarmingly with each dose. We need to understand what's happening. Perhaps the doses are too high." Mark furrowed his brow, clearly worried. "Of course, Rachel. We can do that now. I'll get the prescriptions." Mark quickly returned with a folder full of documents. Rachel began to carefully analyze each medication, checking the dosages and the administration dates. She knew something wasn't right, but she still didn't have concrete evidence. However, her experience told her to be cautious and investigate further. "Mark, I think it would be prudent to have a more detailed assessment with the doctor to be sure," suggested Rachel, looking directly into Mark's eyes. "We need to make sure everything is correct." Mark nodded, the concern evident on his face. "I'll schedule an appointment with the doctor. I trust your judgment, Rachel. You've been a blessing to us." Rachel smiled, trying to convey confidence. "We are all in this together, Mark. Let's find out what's going on and ensure that Emily receives the best possible care." Then, after the conversation with Rachel, Mark scheduled the appointment for the next week. And while waiting for the appointment with the specialist, Rachel began to observe Beatrice more closely, noting every detail of her actions. She noticed that Beatrice was always the one administering the medications to Emily, and often became irritated when Rachel offered help. This defensive attitude only heightened her suspicions. One afternoon, while Rachel was organizing Emily's medical records in the living room, she saw Beatrice entering the girls' room with a bottle of medication. Rachel decided it was time to discreetly confront Beatrice. Taking a deep breath, she approached the stepmother with a friendly smile. "Beatrice, can we talk for a moment?" Rachel asked, trying to maintain a friendly and disarming tone. Beatrice looked up from the bottle, her expression immediately becoming defensive. "About what, Rachel?" "About Emily medication," said Rachel, watching Beatrice's reaction closely. "I found something strange in one of the bottles and was wondering if you noticed anything different." Beatrice visibly tensed, her eyes darting away for a moment before returning to meet Rachel's gaze. "I handle her medications every day. I don't know what you're talking about." Rachel kept calm, but her voice was firm. "I understand, Beatrice, but we need to make sure everything is correct. Emily's health depends on it." Beatrice scoffed, crossing her arms and adopting a defensive posture. "Are you insinuating that I don't take good care of her?" "I'm not insinuating anything," replied Rachel, keeping calm and maintaining a steady gaze. "I just want to make sure we are doing everything correctly. As I told Mark, she always worsens after the dosages. It might be too high a dosage of the medicine. We are going through the doctor to check these dosages." Beatrice looked at Rachel with a mix of anger and suspicion before abruptly leaving the room, leaving Rachel even more suspicious. Rachel knew she needed more evidence before she could act, but Beatrice's reaction only reinforced her suspicions. Determined, Rachel promised herself she would uncover the truth and protect Emily at all costs. The night before Emily's scheduled medical appointment, while Mark was out at a work meeting, Rachel was in the kitchen preparing a special formula for Emily when she heard soft footsteps in the hallway. Curious, she discreetly peeked out and saw Beatrice entering Emily's room with a medication bottle in hand. Determined to uncover the truth, Rachel followed Beatrice quietly, staying in the shadows. Beatrice approached Emily's bed and began administering the medication. Rachel watched intently, her heart pounding. Beatrice seemed nervous, looking around as if she feared being caught. After finishing, she placed the bottle on the bedside table and quickly left the room, unaware of Rachel's presence. As soon as Beatrice left, Rachel entered Emily's room, moving swiftly to the bedside table. She picked up the bottle and, with trembling hands, examined the label. To her horror, she saw that the bottle contained a sedative substance. Her heart clenched at the thought of what this meant for Emily's health. The next morning, Rachel knew she had to act immediately. She found Mark in the living room, her expression serious and determined. "Mark, we need to talk. It's urgent." Mark looked at her, concerned. "What happened, Rachel?" "Mark, we have to take Emily to the hospital immediately. She being deliberately sedated," said Rachel, showing the bottle as proof. Mark turned pale, the revelation hitting him like a blow. "But who would do something like this? Why?" "I prefer we be sure before we can address the situation. But we need to act fast. Emily's health is at risk," Rachel insisted. Mark, still shaken, agreed. "Let's go. We can't waste time." They took Emily to the hospital, where doctors confirmed that she was being sedated with an unprescribed substance. The truth finally came to light, and Rachel then told Mark about Beatrice, and Mark decided to confront Beatrice's actions. The disturbing discovery brought a new challenge for Rachel and Mark, but also a renewed hope that Emily could finally begin to recover without Beatrice's malicious interference. With the confirmation from the doctors that Emily was being deliberately sedated, Mark wasted no time. He immediately contacted a lawyer and began the legal process to remove Beatrice from the home and ensure his daughter's safety. The decision was painful but necessary. Mark knew he needed to protect Emily at all costs. As legal measures were taken, Rachel and Mark devoted themselves entirely to Emily's care. In the hospital, Emily began to show signs of recovery. Her fingers moved slightly and her eyes, previously closed, now blinked occasionally. Each small progress was celebrated with hope and relief. One morning, while Rachel adjusted the monitors beside Emily's bed, she noticed a different movement. Emily opened her eyes fully, blinking against the soft light of the room. Her eyes, confused but awake, wandered around before settling on Rachel. "Where am I?" Emily asked, her voice weak and hoarse, almost a whisper. Rachel smiled, feeling a wave of emotion. "You're in the hospital, dear. You're safe now." Mark, who was beside the bed, held his daughter's hand tenderly, his eyes brimming with tears. "You've been sleeping for a while, my love, but now you're awake. We are here with you." Emily furrowed her brow, trying to process the information. "What happened? Why am I here?" Rachel exchanged a meaningful look with Mark before answering. "It's a long story, Emily, but the important thing is that you're safe now and we'll take care of you." Mark stroked Emily's hair, his voice filled with emotion. "We love you very much, Emily, and we do everything necessary to get you well." Emily looked at her father and Rachel, feeling confused but comforted by their presence. "I feel strange," she said, trying to find the words. "That's normal, dear," Rachel explained. "Your body is recovering. We'll take care of you and make sure everything is all right." Mark nodded, squeezing Emily's hand tighter. "You're strong, Emily, and with Rachel here, I know you'll fully recover." In the following days, Emily continued to show signs of improvement. Her strength gradually increased, and she began to remember small details of her life before the coma. Rachel and Mark were always by her side, providing support and encouragement. The constant presence of Rachel and the unwavering love of Mark created a secure and hopeful environment for Emily. With Beatrice removed and legal measures underway, the Johnson family began to envision a brighter future. Emily's recovery journey was just beginning, but with the dedication and love of her father and Rachel, she had every chance to fully recover and rebuild her life. As Emily continued to recover in the hospital, Mark, and Rachel spent hours discussing the next steps. The atmosphere was charged with renewed hope. The next day, Mark entered the room, bringing important news. His face was lit up with an expression of relief and happiness. "Rachel, the doctors said we can take Emily home in a few days. They think she might recover better in a familiar environment." Rachel felt a wave of joy and relief. "That's wonderful, Mark, but we need to ensure she's safe at home." Mark nodded, his expression determined. With Rachel's help, he secured legal and psychological support to handle the case against Beatrice. They worked tirelessly to create a safe and welcoming environment for Emily. Finally, the day came to take Emily home. Rachel, Mark, and Emily were in the car, driving back to the house that would now be a safe place of recovery. Emily, still a bit weak, looked out the window and smiled, her eyes shining with new hope. "I'm happy to be going back home," she said, her voice still fragile but filled with hope. Mark squeezed Emily's hand, his heart full of emotion. "We are happy to have you back, daughter, and with Rachel here I know everything will be all right." Rachel smiled at both of them, feeling a deep connection with the family. "We'll make sure you have the best possible recovery, Emily. We are all here for you." As the car approached the house, Rachel felt a mix of relief and determination. She knew the road ahead would still be challenging, but she was ready to face any obstacles to protect Emily and help the Johnson family rebuild their lives. The house, which once seemed cold and impersonal, would now be a sanctuary of love and recovery, where Emily could finally find the peace and security she deserved. A few months after Emily's discharge from the hospital, the judge's decision regarding Beatrice's actions came through. She was sentenced to 10 years in prison and she could never approach Emily again. This news brought relief to Mark, as he knew he could live peacefully with his daughter, without Beatrice around. Want access to more stories like this? Click the link in the pinned comment below and find out how. And so ends another thrilling narrative. Leave your like, share with friends, and don't miss the upcoming stories. See you soon. Yeah.